What does a white guy like me know about Buddhism, this Eastern philosophy? Well, it may be odd to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. A large part of me believes that I was a Buddhist monk in a past life. And the reason I believe that is because I've had no background in Buddhism my entire life. I knew nothing about it. I always thought that Buddhism was just a religion, I guess. I didn't even think of it like that. I didn't even know. I just knew that there was a guy with a big belly that people called the Buddha. You rub the belly for good luck. That's literally all I knew. And if you're an American, you may be thinking the same thing. But one day, something really profound happened to me that changed my entire perspective on it. And quite literally, I became obsessed with this practice that is Buddhism. So, this is my story and how these teachings changed my life. So, like I said earlier, I'm an American. Everything around me is Abrahamic religions as far as meaning of life and what things are. But I never really resonated with any of them. Family, dad was Catholic, mom was Jewish, didn't really go to church, didn't go to synagogue, anything like that. But it was a pretty open-minded household. I remember my dad telling me one day, I don't think God is a person, I think God is a force. That's pretty much the extent of any religion that I had in my life. I moved to Los Angeles when I'm 19 years old, and I spent about 10 years creating and perfecting my craft of making music. I went to school for it. And right around the pandemic, something really profound happened to me. Actually, it was a bit before 2017. I got in a very aggressive, very destructive legal battle with someone, another musician, over our name. I had the same name as him, or rather, he had the same name as me. I had it first. So I had it trademarked, and I hired a lawyer pro bono. I wasn't really making any money, so I was part of this lawyers for the arts, kind of like they work for free as a community service. So I had these lawyers, and they sent out a cease and desist to this other artist, and what should have been a quick 2 weeks, either he paid me some money for my trademark or he changed his name, turned into about, I think it was a 3 to 4 month legal battle. Every pretty much other day, I was waking up to an email either from him or from my lawyer, then reaching out to my lawyer to respond, sending contracts back and forth, consistently trying to negotiate what should happen. The amount of stress that I went through in this 4-month period, I've never been so stressed out in my entire life. And so afterwards, the dust was settling, and a few years later, I was still making music, but I took a break and didn't really know what I wanted to do, because in the end, there was no winner. I mean, technically I won, but he disparaged me online, and I had hate comments coming my way, and I needed to take a step back. So I did. And around the pandemic, once it started, things were changing in everyone's lives, and I thought, okay, what is it that I want to do with my life? And I had spent so much of my life asking other people what it was that I wanted to do, or what I should do. What should I do about this legal battle? What should I do with this? What should I do with this? What should I do with my life? What do you think? What do you think? And one night, in a conversation with one of my best friends, we both kind of came to this realization that, why are we always asking other people for advice? Why not ask ourselves? Well, what's the best way to do that? And what came to me was meditation, right? Meditation is this way to communicate to the other side of you, right? That's what I understood it to be. It's the way to connect to a deeper level within you, whether it's talking to a higher spirit guide, a higher self, or whether it's just knowing who you are and moving the mind chatter out and just knowing intuitively what it is I should do. That's what meditation is, right? So I made a pact to myself. I said, I'm going to meditate every single day for 1 year. And I did. I meditated every single day for 1 year. At least 15 minutes a day. I did guided meditations. I did silent meditations. I did meditations with ocean sounds, meditations with nature sounds. I did meditations that were guided from all different traditions. Chakra meditations, breath meditations, breathing meditations. And then that second year, I meditated again almost every single day. The second year, I think I missed like 3 or 4 days. And then this is where the Buddhist path came in. Because one day, I'm doing my meditation practice, and I also decided, I want to learn a little something. There's this psychology textbook on my table. It's been there for years. It was at my old house for years. Now it's at this house. It's this textbook that my dad gave me. It's a college textbook for psychology. I always wanted to learn psychology. I went to music school, but if I didn't, I would have gone to school for psychology. And it was my sister's, because she took a psychology class in college. So I picked it up. I flipped to a random page, and I flipped to the page that says Buddhist psychology. And I started to read it. And as I read it, there was a resonance within me that I can't explain. There was a resonance that was tuning in a way that felt like I had learned these things before. Or at least that I agreed with them. Because what I learned was that this thing called Buddhism, it wasn't a religion. And if it is, it's not only a religion. It's not anything I'd ever learned before. It was a psychology. It was a way to approach the mind. But then it was also a philosophy. It was a way to approach life, and it was a way to put all of that into practice. It was also a practice. And so then I got a little obsessive, and I started learning more and more and more, as much as I could online. And I came across what's known as the Abhidhamma. I told myself, I want to learn what the teachings of the Buddha really are. What's the oldest teachings? The oldest teachings are what is known as the Pali Canon. It's a, I guess you would say, canonical collection of texts, 30,000s of pages, supposedly. Some of it's not even translated into English yet. And the third basket of the Pali Canon is the Abhidhamma. So anyway, that's a quick background. Well, the Abhidhamma is the first two baskets condensed into what reads like a scientific textbook. The Abhidhamma, in my opinion, is the scientific textbook of being. So this scientific textbook of being takes the essence of what it's like to be a human and puts it into a science, almost a Western science. That's what's really crazy about it. And so I started to read the Abhidhamma. And when I did, I'm reading words from a different language that I have never heard before, the Pali language. And I can tell that I've read them before. I can tell that I've learned them before. In a past life, this was becoming something that I could recognize. It was a very profound experience. And then I started to apply what I was learning into my life. The first noble truth in Buddhism is that suffering exists, and it exists in the second noble truth because of our attachments. So I had already been meditating for 2 years, but now I'm taking something, an Eastern practice, an Eastern path, and I'm now applying it to my meditation practice, because as I'm learning these things, I'm also just naturally meditating every day, and things are starting to very much fall into place. There's a Buddhist term called ehipassiko, which means come and see. It means don't believe any of the Buddhist texts blindly. Don't believe them at all, actually. Instead, come and see for yourself. Actually, if you want to be a good practicing Buddhist, if you want to practice the path, you have to do this. You actually have to. You have to put it into practice. So anyway, back to the second noble truth. I started seeing attachments everywhere that were leading me to my suffering. What was so great about learning the Buddhist practice, as I'd already been meditating for a few years, and if you've ever been somebody, if you're meditating right now, I highly recommend that you look into this. It felt like I was going somewhere with my meditation practice, but I didn't have a steering wheel. Buddhism was that steering wheel for me. Now I have a steering wheel on the car. I was moving, wasn't really able to control where I was going, but now I have this steering wheel, this guide, and now I can really get to where I'm going. And there's a lot more with the Abhidhamma that I'd love to share in later videos, some other really profound things that I learned. But this scientific textbook of being changed my life. And ever since then, this white guy from America has been obsessed with Buddhism. But really what I'm obsessed with is understanding truth. Because here I am growing up in a country that says you must be Christian or Catholic or Jewish, and that's what everybody else does, and you got to believe in God, and or you're an atheist, or you can try to understand New Age spirituality, but there's not much solid ground in that. There's a lot of theories, a lot of cool ideas, but the Dhamma, these practices have been around for thousands of years, and they've been perfected, and they've been respected, and they've been passed down again and again from generation to generation. In Asia, which is very different than America, it's very different than the West. People, the respect for each other, for their elders, for teachings are beyond anything that you see in America or in the West. So these teachings have been preserved in that sense. And so the whole reason that I've spent so much time making content about this thing is because I felt that it was so profound. It was the one thing that I could apply to my life every single day to make me happier, to make me free of suffering. Talk therapy, feels like I talk in circles. I'm not really getting anything anywhere. I don't want to take medication because of the problems that it can occur because of it. But this I could do every day and be at peace. And so I want other people to feel that. And that's why I started this journey, and that's why I continue to do so, because I know that it can help people. So if you're out there and you're interested, come check out some of the stuff that I'm talking about. And you don't have to follow me if you don't want to. There's other teachers out there. But I, since then, have become certified in Buddhism, so to speak, from Harvard. I have a certification in Buddhist practice, Buddhist philosophy and history. I've spent 40,000 plus minutes of my life in meditation. I've done a Vipassana 10-day sit. But more than that, I'm extremely passionate about this because it goes so beyond this just a religion, or it's so beyond just a statue with a big belly that you rub. It gives you good luck. This is truth. This is Dhamma. And it's not truth because I say so, and it's not even truth because the Buddha says so. It's truth because when you take the time and put the energy in to learn these things and put them into practice, you realize they are truth. Our suffering does come from attachments. Everybody is also suffering. And because of that, we can hold compassion. That greed, hatred, and ignorance are the roots of suffering. And there are ways to liberate ourselves from them. So, if you want to follow this journey, consider subscribing. Thank you for letting me share my story. And also, check me out on Insight Timer, where I give out meditations for free as well. My goal is to teach people these things. And I'd love to grow in a way where I am able to share my story, help others, and grow from it. So, yeah, may you be well. May you be free of suffering. Thanks for watching.